You want to hear one secret? Nobody saves their way into becoming a millionaire. And let me explain. The crazy part is 83% of millionaires have a mentor or coach. The majority don't actually rely on 9-to-5 jobs as their primary income. And on average, millionaires are investing more than 20% of what they make back into investments. The point is, millionaires play a completely different game. They don't just earn, they leverage. They don't just save, they multiply. But the truth is, most people don't know where to start, or they get stuck in the wrong stage of the game. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 10 brutally honest lessons to making and building wealth, no matter what your age or stage you're at. And instead of boring numbers, I'm going to show you 4 very real characters that represent the wealth journey. You'll see yourself in one of them. And once you do, you'll know exactly where you're at and what it takes to reach the next level. Now, before we dive in, I just want to add some really quick context on why you should listen to me. Over the past decade, I've helped build an 8-figure company called Empire Flippers, one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And I did it while I was able to work and travel across more than 100 countries, making more than the top 1% of earners for my age. I've gone on to give a TED Talk, speak at some of the world's biggest stages, and also publish a best-selling book about this whole journey. Now, I'm not sharing this to flex on you. I'm just showing that I have experience doing what I'm actually talking about today. These stages aren't going to be theory. I've lived them, climbed them, and helped countless others do the same. So if you want to learn how to grow your income, escape financial traps, and eventually get your money working harder than you do, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. All right, so without further ado, let's dig right in. Stage number 1 is what I call underpaid Oliver, and this is going to be people who have a 9-to-5 income and are making under $100,000 per year. So the biggest issue I see with underpaid Oliver is you're not actually underpaid, you're just underskilled and under leverage. So let me dig into what Oliver's main problem is. It's not that he's reckless, it's that he doesn't have enough income to build real wealth yet. And this is the trap where a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck because they haven't figured out how to leverage and how to earn more money. The biggest goal in this stage is figure out how to earn more money. And it's not as easy as you think, and most people do it wrong. So here's the 3 tactics that Oliver needs to do to level up after this stage. So the first tactic and the fastest one is you need to buy skills before you buy stocks. Courses, certification, books, mentorships, communities, these are going to have the highest return on investment at this stage. Because if Oliver makes $50,000 today, a new skill that helps him bridge that gap to making $80,000 or $100,000 is going to be more valuable than a decade of 8% returns. So this is the biggest trap I see. People spend all this time and resources trying to figure out how to invest this money. But again, you need to figure out how to invest in yourself to leverage up and start making more money. This is the fastest way. Tactic number 2 is stop being loyal and start upgrading. Loyalty rarely pays in corporate America, so the fastest way to increase your income early on is job hopping strategically. A lot of surveys show within 2 to 3 years, you can actually go ahead and change positions and get a 20 to 30% increase in your income. So if you're stuck at your job and you haven't been spending time on career development, improving your resume, doing interviews, you should be doing this. This is the fastest way that you can add an additional 20 to 30% of your income. By changing your job or employer is going to be the biggest way to level up. Tactic number 3 is just going to be save more. Cut out on all those unnecessary living expenses. I use a tool called Rocket Money to actually figure out what are those subscriptions, where's my money going, and how can you actually stay lean and clean. The other thing you can do is actually utilize geo arbitrage to move your location. So the best example I like to use is having that New York salary and having a remote job where you don't have to go into an office, but you can live somewhere in Missouri where it's much cheaper. And if you want to take it a step further, you can live overseas in Mexico. You can have that $100K salary, but you can save way more of that, and then you can reinvest that into skills and other things that are going to help you increase your income. So here's the brutal truth. Oliver doesn't need an ETF. He needs a raise, and you need more skills that are going to allow you to increase your income. From 0 to 100K, you should be focusing on one industry, one sort of core skill set, and then figuring out a way to increase that. So focus on increasing that skill and investing in yourself until you're able to hit that 100K and above mark. The next stage is going to be somebody who's making between 100 and 250K from one job. I call this comfortable Carla. Carla has finally made it. She has that 6-figure income, a nice apartment, maybe a nice new shiny car, but this is where most people get stuck forever because they confuse comfort with freedom. Carla is kind of in a danger zone of lifestyle creep. If she doesn't play it smart, she'll spend 30 years making good money, but not actually building any wealth. This is one of the most dangerous stages, and it's the crazy part where you see people with a 6-figure salary that are still living paycheck to paycheck because they haven't figured it out. So here's the tactics that comfortable Carla needs to do to break free and actually become wealthy. Tactic number 4 is to know the difference between wealth creation and wealth preservation. Buying a house to live in is preservation. It keeps money in an asset, but it doesn't generate freedom. There's no real cash flow. Buying a rental property, for the other example, or renting out rooms in your home is wealth creation. It creates cash flow. Comfort keeps you stuck. Creation sets you free. Tactic number 5 is to automate your investing. At this stage, you should be taking a portion of your profits, maxing out all your Roth IRAs and all those tax-free investment options, but also setting up automatic investment. At this stage, Carla has enough income to invest consistently. The trick is to automate it. Automatic contributions into ETFs, index funds, or dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin ETFs or anything like that is going to make a huge impact. What I suggest doing is taking a percentage of your net profit each month and then setting up dollar cost averaging every week into some ETFs and some sort of cryptocurrency. This is going to allow you to basically do the research once, set it up once, and then you don't have to have any of those emotional feelings or any of those responsibilities into doing it. It's just going to be automatically investing while you sleep. So the next tactic is going to be the biggest lever to actually go out of that 200. So the final tactic here is going to be huge in leveling up. This is going to be monetizing the skills you already have outside of your 9 to 5. If you haven't realized, our weekends are about 28% of our time. And then after our 9 to 5, we have a lot of extra time that we can actually sell. So if you wanted to just make an additional $5,000 to $10,000 a month on top of this, you could essentially double your 9 to 5 income that's 6 figures already by selling that additional time. So what I suggest is Carla likely has some pretty valuable skills, and they're going to be valuable enough outside of her employer. So what you can do is do consulting, contracting, and freelancing in the same industry and start building productized side hustles. And this is going to allow you to really increase your revenue and income to really start building a side hustle and generating additional income to move on to that next stage. So here's the hook. Carla thinks that she's rich, but she's just comfortable, and that can be the most dangerous stage of them all. This is how you escape the danger zone and move on to the next stage. So the next stage is entrepreneur Ethan. This is somebody who's going to be making at least $250,000 from their side hustle or their business. The great thing about this is owning a business has untapped earning potential. Where you have a 9 to 5, likely you're looking at a 20 to 30% increase every 2 to 3 years if you're very strategic, or a 5 to 10% increase year over year at your current company. On average, most people are a lot lower than that. This is where entrepreneurship comes in the key, and the majority of millionaires are going to have their own business. It's just a clear-cut fact. So if you want to be a millionaire, the likelihood of doing it is a lot higher if you start a side hustle and if you have your own business. And if you want us to build your own side hustle for you and help you get your first customers guaranteed within 60 days, you can join the Earn From Anywhere Academy. I'll leave a link below in the description. So starting off with Ethan, he essentially escaped the comfort trap. He doesn't just work for anyone anymore. He builds systems, side hustles, and businesses that generate income even when he's not working and while he's sleeping. He has a team of people doing the sales. He has VAs and virtual assistants helping him run the day-to-day operations. He didn't build this overnight, but what he did was he took the Comfort Carla and started building his side hustles and business. And when it was making more money, he started transitioning all of his time and effort into that, which allowed him to scale to where he's at now. So for Ethan to actually escape and get out of this stage, or while he's in this stage, some of the best tactics to move on to level 4 are going to be buying an online business. Because a majority of online businesses fail, you can actually buy the 5% that are profitable and successful. So he can use cash flow from his business to acquire something that's going to already be in his wheel of expertise, or he can just buy something that's going to generate cash flow. The other tactic that Ethan can do is partner into equity. Ethan doesn't always need to operate. He probably has a lot of skills and insights where he can partner with somebody else and utilize that additional income to generate an additional source of cash flow. Now, tactic number 9 is going to be the best thing, and that's just reinvesting into your own business. For example, if you have a business that every dollar you invest, you make $2 or $3, that's going to be the best profit that you can do, is figuring out a way to get more money and capital into your already proven model. This could be through coaching, mentoring, running paid ads, doing email marketing, but in general, it's going going to be the best value that you can find is, hey, I've got something that's working. The concept is proven. How can I get more leads and more traffic and convert more of those people into customers? That's typically going to be the fastest way that you're going to move on to stage number 4. Now, the final stage here is Investor Isaac, and this is where your money is going to be doing the majority of the work. Isaac has reached the holy grail. Their money is now making more money than her labor ever could. At this point, the game isn't about working harder, it's about deploying capital intelligently. Isaac doesn't chase shiny objects, he plays the long game of leverage. So Isaac is going to be utilizing their capital that they built, and they've likely accumulated millions of dollars at this point, which they can deploy into wealth preservation and things that are going to generate cash flow. Typically, there's going to be a strategy of doing a combination of both. So that's why I think a lot of people get stuck in this trap is they try to buy that house, they buy that car, or they buy those vehicles that don't generate cash flow, and it prevents them from getting to this stage faster. If you're able to hold off into this stage, you're able to utilize that capital to fuel your speed to actually getting to stage 4 and becoming an Investor Isaac. So Isaac is going to be doing a lot of great things because they have capital. They're going to be able to live off that interest, or they can actually take and borrow against their leverage assets. This is going to be things where they can do security-backed lines of credit, where they can actually take out a loan against their assets that they already own. For example, some of these loans are 3 to 4% against borrowing against your own capital. You can actually use this to pay yourself, and then you basically are already growing enough to pay off the interest. For example, if you're going to leverage this, let's say you have $5 million worth of assets and you're able to borrow against that at 3%, but those assets are generating on average around 8. You basically just live off of that 5% in interest. The other thing that Investor Isaac is going to be doing is they're going to be finding strategic options to deploy this capital into investments that are going to cash flow. They're looking for cash flow. That is the number one thing that comes up with my friends and other people and other business owners at this stage is the conversations are all about cash flow and then risk tolerance to cash flow. So what does that mean? It means that the person who is willing to take the highest risk is likely going to generate the highest cash flow. So at this stage, there's going to be a lot of unique advantages, but when you have the nest egg, you want to make very strategic investments that aren't going to risk that nest egg. You're going to be basically diversifying and playing with house money. And so the way that this works is you usually have enough cash flow off of your nest egg that you're able to deploy some of that capital into other investments. And so you can take those bigger swings because it's all playing with house money. And with house money, the example is you go to a casino, you come in with $100, you double your money, you keep that $100 and you're only playing with that additional $100. So it's not really like you're ever going to go past that. And so that's the best example that I can use for Investor Isaac and how they think about wealth creation, but more importantly, wealth preservation. So if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to leave another video up here in the corner that's hand selected just for you. And again, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button about new videos coming out every single week.